Hello everybody, it's Foo here, and today I want to talk about Appletun, a really fun Pokemon that was added this generation that's definitely gone under the radar for some people because in a lot of formats it doesn't seem so viable. However, it has recently been banned from Smogon PU, which is really interesting, and what I want to do is take a look at why Appletun was banned from this tier to see if there are any takeaways on how this Pokemon could be used in other formats, because I think there's a lot of potential there. Before we get into it, if you enjoy this content, then please consider leaving a like on the video, and if you've watched a number of my videos and you do like it, then please subscribe because it helps the channel out, lets me know what you want to see more of. But anyway, let's talk about Appletun. So this guy was in PU and he was a monster. In fact, he was banned because he was a bit too versatile. There were too many things that he could do, which kind of seems crazy because when you consider his move pool, it's really not that wide. So how did it become such a menace in the tier? Well, it's one of these grass dragon apples that was introduced in Sword and Shield, and it has a couple of abilities related to berries, which we're really not going to consider right now because Thick Fat is definitely its most viable ability. It's got incredible bulk, it's got 110 HP with decent defenses and a good special attack stat. Despite being very slow, that's not so much of an issue when you've got such great bulk combined with that Thick Fat giving you a fire type resistance and mitigating your ice type weakness. Put all this together and in the Smogon PU tier, this thing becomes quite threatening because there aren't that many dragon types down there and there definitely aren't too many dragon type answers. And so Appletun was actually a really strong dragon type for the tier. There were 4 sets that were used quite a lot, and those 4 different sets functioned so differently that this thing was actually too versatile for the tier, and that's why it was decided to be banned. So let's run through those 4 sets to see what we can learn about other formats and how this Pokemon might be viable there too. So the first set that was really threatening was this thing was a Choice Specs attacker in the PU tier. It could fire off really powerful Draco Meteors, and because of the few checks to dragon types in the tier, it was really hard to switch in on. Not only that, but its signature move Apple Acid is awesome. It's a base 80 power grass type move, 100 accuracy, and it always drops the target's special defense stat. That means that concurrent use of Apple Acid means it will just get stronger and stronger each turn. So walls can't kind of recover store you or anything. If they switch in, they have to deal with you then and there, or else you're just going to be doing more and more damage. So this is an amazing attack for a Choice Specs Pokemon that's trying to break through those walls. Combined with Draco Meteor, basically that's all you need. Despite a lot of things being able to resist one of those moves, because Apple Acid has the capability to break through things because of the special defense drops, it became a monster. And that's evidenced by even things like Shinotic, which is a grass fairy type that is immune to dragon type and resists the grass type moves that Appletun has. Even that could get broken down with the Apple Acid special defense drops. So there really wasn't too much counterplay to the set in the PU tier. Now, outside of the PU tier, I think this set is probably a lot less viable because there are more dragon types, there are better Draco Meteor users. Apple Acid is really the big selling point here, but because of its lack of coverage outside of those 2 moves, there really isn't much else that it can do. But if we move on to the next set, it's actually kind of similar, but a little bit more applicable to other tiers, and that is an offensive Leech Seed set. So you have Draco Meteor and Apple Acid again, but your other moves are Leech Seed and then either Recover or Substitute. And why this set I think is much better is that it deals with Steel types and things that might resist your moves a lot better. If you get a Leech Seed on a Steel type, they're generally more defensive and they can't threaten you so much, then Appletun can kind of break through those with Apple Acid, recovering, getting all that passive recovery from leftovers and Leech Seed. And once you break through your checks like the fairy types and steel types, your Draco Meteors become a lot scarier. So I think that this has a lot more potential for the other tiers, Leech Seed just being really great. I mean, if a fairy type switches in, you can go for your Leech Seed and then switch out to something that will deal with the fairy type and you're getting all that Leech Seed recovery, getting chip damage on the fairy type. I think it's a really cool set, especially combined with the substitute. It's a slow subseat set, but it definitely can do work. So I would advise maybe trying that one out in other tiers. And then if we look at the other two remaining sets, they're like a specially defensive set or a physically defensive set. And these function slightly differently because you don't have like the Draco Meteor damage output and you don't have as much immediate damage from your Apple Acids. You have to chip away over a bit more time. But because of its great typing, this thing has plenty of opportunity to harry the opponent's team with attacks and really annoy them, and Apple Acid will break them down eventually. Leech Seed will help too, and you've got the Recover for longevity. But it doesn't stop there with the bulky sets. With that massive HP stat and decent defenses, if you invest in special defense, for example, this thing gets Iron Defense, which boosts its physical defense by 2 stages. So if you have a specially defensive set, you're boosting your defense, this thing immediately becomes so hard to take down. And you can do it the reverse as well, because if you invest in its physical defense with your EVs, it learns Amnesia to boost its special defense. So you can have it either way, and this thing becomes so hard to take down. And the last thing to note is that it does learn Body Press too, so you can have the Iron Defense Body Press combo, boosting your bulk and at the same time boosting your damage output. And it's especially good for Appletun because, as I've said before, its checks generally steel types because they resist both the dragon and grass type attacks. They are weak to the body press, so that is fantastic for Appletun to break through those, and then your Apple Acids will do a lot more work. It also means that if the opponent tries to bring in an ice type to take it on, that's also weak to the body press. And that's one of the main reasons why eventually Appletun was banned from PU, because you had these offensive sets that had the dragon and grass type moves. You could break through things with Apple Acid, but then if there was a particularly bulky steel type, if you're running a different Appletun set with the body press, you'll be able to beat that too. So for opponents going up against Appletuns, they were in a really hard press situation to know how to respond to Appletuns. So looking at how Appletun could be used in other formats, I think that in the OU tier, this thing could be quite a good physically defensive wall because it resists Fishious Rend, for example. It resists earthquakes, and could use that Leech Seed Recover combo to stay alive and healthy, and Apple Acid to do some damage and break through. Also, Rotom Heat is everywhere at the moment, and this thing resists both of its Overheat and its Volt Switch, so it could be a good answer for that. Despite your Apple Acid not doing much damage, you'll be getting those special defense drops and being able to wear it down over time, and with Leech Seed you can stay healthy too. So I think it does have a niche in the OU tier if you want to try to use it there, as well as in VGC. You could run those Iron Defense sets. Iron Defense Body Press Appletun could be a really neat surprise mon to have there, and I think it would be really cool. You could definitely take on Ferrothorns pretty well because they really wouldn't be able to do much to you in return, and your body press is super effective, so that's pretty neat. As well as I said, resisting the ground type attacks that are everywhere with Excadrill, and also the Rotoms in that format too. So I think that this Pokemon definitely has niches. There's nothing that quite does what Appletun can do. It's definitely not the most viable Pokemon out there, but the fact that it has been banned from a Smogon tier shows its potential and the versatility it holds. Please give Appletun a try. I think it's awesome. But that's going to be all from me. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more content. I've been Foofootoo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.